Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Edupedia world. And I am Abhinay Gupta. And again, we are back with the continuation of the topic, that is the winding up. Right? We have already had a couple of lectures on this topic, and we still have a couple of more lectures to go. Right? So, needless to say that when we are talking about winding up, we are referring to the provisions of the Companies Act 1956. Right? So, what will be the basic topic of consideration in today's lecture? Any guesses? Okay, you have read it below already. It is the voluntary winding up. So far we have already covered the compulsory winding up, where you had filed a petition, the creditors, the members, the registrar, whosoever went to the company. There were 6 grounds of compulsory winding up that we have seen. We have seen the entire procedure and what happens. And then we have also seen the destination. That yes, when the event or the transaction or the journey was over, at the destination you have the dissolution. Right? And then we have also seen the revival from that dissolution. So these are the topics that we have already covered in the previous lecture. If any one of you have missed out on any one of them, please go back to the previous lectures, refer to those topics, and then come back. Right? Because when we are talking about the voluntary winding up now, there are many things that will be common from that portion of the syllabus. And in that situation, I will not get into the detailed analysis or explanation of the same thing again, but I would refer it to the lecture that we have already had. Right? So if it's already done for you, if you have already gone through the lecture, that will be easier for you to grasp and understand. Otherwise, there is also a fresh thing, and since we will not be covering it into that detail, I'm talking about just those points that will be common, right? We'll not be covering it into a great depth. So for that, it is beneficial for you to be well versed with the other lectures, right? So now the people who are continuing with the lecture, I presume that you all have been through the previous lectures, right? You are following my lectures already. So today we'll discuss about the voluntary winding up. Okay, we have already had questions on this topic as well in the previous examinations. Yeah, when we go ahead to members voluntary winding up, creditors voluntary winding up, those topics have been common. Winding up is one chapter, I told you, right? You have a high weightage of this chapter. This is an important chapter in your company's account. Or director is not the most important chapter. If you get 30-mark question from director, that is still 25%, because you have your question paper for 120 marks. So these are the other chapters, the smaller chapters, the easier chapters, right, in your syllabus that will fetch you marks. So winding up is one important chapter. You have good amount of question from that, ranging from 8 to 12 marks in each examination. So don't take it lightly, right? And it's needless to be shocked that maybe in this upcoming exam also you have a question from voluntary winding up that we are doing today. You never know, right? So please pay attention to the lecture. We will start with it now. So first of all, when we are talking about voluntary winding up, we need to understand the meaning. What is voluntary winding up? So basically, in the previous lectures, we have dealt with the provisions of the compulsory winding up. Right? We have done everything about compulsory winding up. So didn't you feel that the compulsory winding up was a little cumbersome process? You go to the court, somebody makes an application, the court decides whether or not to wind up, then the court winds up, and then you have the official liquidator. You lose all the powers. No member, no director, nobody has any power in the company. The director comes, the director is being given the statement of affairs, then the director continues with the winding up. It goes on, and if it goes for more than 1 year, the director has to issue the accounts, right? And then it goes on. It's a little cumbersome process. You have no control over it at all. Whatever the official liquidator wants to do, can do, right? So, and that is the situation when something has gone wrong. The company has not been acting in the cognate sense, in the true sense that it had to be acting. It has not been performing in the appropriate pattern. So that is something that called for the compulsory winding up. Now, voluntary winding up basically can be for other reasons as well. Peaceful reasons, right? Peaceful winding up. We'll get back to that, right? What happens? But basically, what you need to understand over here, that voluntary winding up is a winding up at the instance of the members of the company. Right? Over here, you have no interference of the court. The members, they will decide we need to wind up. They will appoint the liquidator. They will call the liquidator. They will go through the proceedings, and at the end, they will wind up and go to the court. Please resolve us. We have been wound up. At the end, yes, you will have the official liquidator again over here, but he will only see with a bird eye view whether or not all the procedures have been taken care of, whether the liquidator has performed a good task. And if it is satisfied, you will be dissolved. Right? It is a peaceful process, no interference of the court, nothing. So what do you basically understand is when we are talking about the voluntary winding up, it is a happy winding up. Right? People are satisfied with this winding up. That okay, they were mentally prepared. We need to wind up. They have prepared their course of action accordingly. They have prepared their resources accordingly, right? And then these kinds of winding up basically are considered to be, or the probability for the success is higher. That yes, they will reach their destination. They will have sufficient assets to basically forego the liabilities, right? But yeah, there may be situation that due to some insolvency or due to lack of funds, they're not able to pay it off. There are situations. I'm not saying that at every point of time when you are into a voluntary winding up, you will be successful. No. But the chances or the probability is higher, right? Because you are already prepared and you know that yes, one day you have to wind up. And you are moving towards that day each and every day. Now some of you must have started thinking, how do we know we have to wind up? You said that when we start the company, we never think of winding up. We think of growing and growing and growing. But no, my dear friends, there are times when the company has been formed for any specific objective. The company has been formed for any specific duration, right? So once that objective is over or once that duration comes to an end, the company has to be gone. The company has to be wound up, right? So the company knows that yeah, one day we will be wound up. Once the objective is reached, we will be wound up. Once the 5-year, 10-year tenure is over, we will be wound up. So they are mentally prepared, right? So this is a separate situation. You will have to provide it in the article, right? So we'll get into the detail, right? When we are moving ahead with the lectures, we'll get into the details of such things as well. So for now, you need to understand that when we are talking about the voluntary winding up, it is the voluntary winding up at the discretion of the members, right? The members, they pass a resolution. Now what is the kind of resolution, ordinary or special, will also depend on the case to case basis. It is not a blanket provision that every time you pass a special resolution and go for a voluntary winding up, or every time you pass an ordinary resolution and go for a winding up. No, right? So let us see what happens in the situation, and that will be seen basically when we talk about or when we discuss about the grounds of winding up. So as I have already given you a hint about that, so we will basically have 3 types or 3 grounds of winding up, right? So number one of it being that the event for which the company was incorporated initially, the objective of the company, right, or the purpose for which the company was incorporated has come to an end. And it's needless to say that if the company was incorporated for some specific object, for some specific event, then that will be referred to in the article of association of the company, right? So it would be wound up if that event or that condition which is specified in the article has been accomplished. Right, you said that okay, this is the objective. Once we do this is the prime reason or the prime motive behind the incorporation of the company, and once that has been achieved, once that motive has been reached, you will wind up the company. That was already decided and that has been mentioned in the article. So once that day comes in your life, once that event has been achieved, you will wind up. You know that already, right? So for that you will just pass an ordinary resolution so that everybody is aware that yeah, friends, our motive has been reached, our destination has been achieved, we are glorious, we are victorious, now our purpose is solved and we go back to our own positions. We wind up the company and go back to our normal life now. What are the 3 things that you consider? Number 1, that it has to be mentioned in the article. Number 2, that day has approached, the day has come. And number 3, you pass an ordinary resolution, right? Now that is one situation. The other is, for example, now if you had incorporated the company for the specific period. Say you wanted to run the company for 5 years only. You may have any reason behind it, but the purpose is, it is defined 5 years. So you will again specify it into your article that yes, we will wind up the company after 5 years. So when the 5 years have been accompanied, right? So 5 years hence, after the date of incorporation, one day when the 5-year tenure comes to an end, you will again pass an ordinary resolution and wind up the company. Why an ordinary resolution? Because it is just for information's sake. It is already specified in the article. It is just a formality, right? So again, 3 conditions over here: that the ground had been specified in the article, the period was defined in the article, that period is over, and you pass an ordinary resolution, right? Now third, an open provision for any other ground. So when we talk about any other ground, that means it is not specified in the article, it is not the period specific thing, it is not an object specific thing. That can be any ground. Any point of time they think that the company is not working well, the company is not able to meet its objective, we should wind up the company, it is beneficial, whatever be the situation, right? The shareholders, they can pass a special resolution and wind up the company. The company will be gone. And this statutory right cannot be taken away by article. Like if you have a provision in the article that the company will not be wound up voluntarily, never. It will wound up only with the supervision of the court, or it would have, if it is succumbed to compulsory winding up, we will wind it up. But the members or the creditors will not be given any right to wind up the company. Will that prevail? No. Members are the people who are the owner of the company. If at any point of time they do not want to continue with the company, and there are majority, 75% majority who don't want to continue with the company, they can wind it up. It is no compulsion under article that you cannot wind it up. If you want to wind it up, pass a special resolution, wind it up. That is it. Right? So once those grounds have been achieved and you have decided to wind it up, you have passed the ordinary resolution or the special resolution, what you do is that you issue a notice of the resolution. So basically in this case, we will not say you issue a notice, but basically you advertise your notice. That has to be done within 14 days from the date of passing the winding up order. Winding up resolution, it's not an order, it's a resolution. So within 14 days, you will get it advertised, you'll get the notice advertised in the official gazette and one newspaper which is circulating in the district in which you have your registered office situated. That is the only requirement. Right? And you know what would be the date of commencement that you would consider in this case? It would not be the date of official gazette, it would not be the date of newspaper advertisement. It would be the date on which you have passed the resolution. You said that, okay, today we pass a resolution that the company will be wound up, and that will be the date when the winding up starts. Then you appoint a liquidator, you go ahead with all the proceeding, dispose of all the assets, pay off all the liabilities, conclude everything, and then go out for peaceful dissolution of the company. But the initiation day would be the day when you have passed a resolution in your general meeting. And so, the day the company issues the declaration, or the day the company passes on a resolution that we will be wound up, that day it loses its corporate structure, the power. Right? The company is no more a company into existence. Nobody will deal with that company now. Right? It would cease to carry on any business, whether of production of goods or manufacturing or providing of services. Whatever business you are into, you will have to stop all your businesses because now you start the winding up procedures. Right? But yeah, there may be situation at times when you continue with the process, but that is not the continuance of business. That would be a continuance for the purpose of beneficial winding up. Right? But the corporate status and the power of the company, that will continue until the company is dissolved. It is not losing its corporate status, because even while you're winding up the company, you will need them for filing any case, for any proceedings, anything that is going on. Right? You want to sue the company, you want something from the company, you want to issue a declaration, you want to issue anything, right? You do it in the name of the company. So the legal structure of the company, the position, the power of the company does not come to an end unless and until the company is dissolved. Right? So that is about the status of the company once the voluntary winding up starts. Right? Now, as we have already seen in the case of compulsory winding up, when the winding up starts, right, the liquidator has been appointed. Over here, the liquidator will be appointed, right, and that will be appointed by the members themselves. They will call forward a person and say, okay, you are the liquidator, start with the proceedings. The liquidator will be given most of the powers that it has been given to the official liquidator, but they will perform without the supervision of the court over here. They will perform independently. Right? So that liquidator also, when it comes over here, they'll have to incur some expenditures, so they'll put aside some money for that expenditure. They will again issue a notice to the income tax department. Boss, whatever is your statutory liability, whatever is your statutory due, please let us know so that I can keep that money aside for you after disposing of the assets and then pay off the rest of the people. Obviously, you are not overriding preferential payers, right? You are not the overriding preferential receivers. Neither are you the secured creditors. But yeah, after that also I have to pay it to you before going to the unsecured creditors. So I'll try to put aside some money for you. So please let me know whatever are the dues for the income tax department. And that notice will be given to them again within 30 days of the appointment. The liquidator comes, he'll look into the affair of the matter and then give them the application. And again, similar to the voluntary winding up, the income tax authority also has a time period of 3 months within which they will have to intimate, okay, this is the due from the company, this is how it goes ahead, this is the amount that is required, please keep it aside. And the liquidator will now keep that amount aside, right, for the payment of that liability, right? That is the liquidator's duty. He'll have to do that. Other things are obviously there, right, but this is again a specific thing that he has to do. And then we have to understand what are the two types of voluntary winding up. One is the voluntary winding up by the members, and the other is the voluntary winding up by the creditors. Now, what do you mean by voluntary winding up by the creditors? Will all the creditors combine, they form a meeting and they say, we'll wind it up, and you wind up? Is that the situation? Look, basically what you need to understand is when the company is solvent, right, and then they decide to wind up, because they know they'll be able to pay off anything, they are satisfied, their period has come to an end, or their objective has come to an end, and they'll peacefully wind up everything and close it off, then that winding up will be known as members voluntary winding up. But if the company is not solvent, if they don't have that fund, then that winding up will be considered to be creditors winding up. Why? Because creditors will be the people who will be given the charge, because they have to recover their money. Right? You understand the difference? There are other differences as well, right? Basically the entire structure goes same. The entire procedure of the winding up for the members voluntary winding up and the creditors voluntary winding up will go in a similar pattern with some differences. Like there are 7-8 specific differences that we'll point out when we go to that lecture, right? When we move on to that part of the chapter. But so far all you need to understand is when the company is solvent, we have the members winding up, and when the company becomes insolvent or the company is not able to pay off all its liabilities, all its debts, dues, creditors and everything, then that winding up would be considered to be creditors winding up. Right? So we'll discuss in the preceding lectures about the voluntary winding up by the members, then the voluntary winding up by the creditors, the differences, the procedures, and then we'll again go ahead to the next topic, which was the winding up under the supervision of the court. And then what happens is it starts as a voluntary winding up, but then it takes the position of the compulsory winding up. That means the court has to interfere, and the court takes it forward as a compulsory winding up then. So it is a combination of both. One that we have already covered in the previous lecture, that is the compulsory winding up, and one that we will be covering in the next 2-3 lectures, that is a voluntary winding up. And that third category of winding up under supervision of the court is a combination of the two. Right? So you can understand that, yeah, major part of the chapter, like 30, 35, 40% of the chapter has already been covered. We have, by covering the voluntary winding up, we'll be covering the other 20-25%, and then there are small topics that we'll be covering and we'll be considering and talking in detail, and then we'll again at the end summarize the entire chapter for you so that it is easy to remember, because unless and until we connect the chapter, it becomes difficult. When we are reading it, when I'm explaining it to you, it becomes very easy. You understand everything, right? Law is not that difficult. But the day you complete the chapter and you move back and you flip over the first page of your book, whichever book you have, you'll again say, oh my god, what was in it? And you again start reading, again you start understanding again. So the process continues. So in order to avoid that burden on you, what we'll do is at the end, we will link the entire chapter. We'll see what are the common things common over all the topics, differences among all the topics. Like that will help you link and understand and memorize things, and we'll also discuss the questions based on them, right? So please stay tuned for that last lecture also, but before that we have to cover the chapter as well, right? So stay tuned for the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye bye.